Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be taking a look at an article and short video in it from the BBC News that was published on July 19th. Trump Putin, Russian leader attacks US critics of summit. Now, they know that people aren't going to read down into this to where the point where he wasn't really attacking them. He just made a statement saying that, yeah, there's critics of the situation. It's turned into a shit show in the U.S. That's not attacking. That's stating a matter of fact. But yet, you know that they're going to do this whole bullshit narrative. I mean, BBC is fake news. I mean, they're deep state-ish on the note of the British government. And deep state, once deep state, always deep state. It's like the CIA, Office of Naval Intelligence. Yeah, they are state-run media, and there are a lot of globalist shit pigs in the British government. They really don't want relations to improve with Putin, because it strengthens this idea of individual nations and weakens the idea of the EU, because they don't have their boogeyman. So we're going to watch this clip. It's a minute and 29 seconds, and then we're going to get into the article.
You agree with U.S. intelligence that Russia meddled in the election in 2016?
Yeah, and I've said that before, Jeff. I have said that numerous times before.
Which he has.
And I would say that that is true, yeah.
But you haven't condemned Putin specifically. Do you?
Well, because there's no proof that Putin had any direct involvement in this, number one. I mean, it could be, if there is actual Russian government involvement, some, you know, with how massive any government is, do you think the president knows exactly what's going on here in the U.S. with the intelligence agencies, every little thing? Of course not. So Putin knowing wouldn't be a given. I mean, that's the whole thing here, is this could have been a rogue operation. This could have been an operation he had no knowledge of, even if it was a government operation. And they're trying to make it sound like this is a done deal. All the facts are in. And what we have for Russian meddling so far is literally Facebook ads that the majority of, and we're only talking a few $100,000, it was like 300 grand, if memory serves, were shown to people on Facebook after the election.
Hold him personally responsible?
Well, I would, because he's in charge of the country, just like I consider myself to be responsible for things that happen in this country. So certainly, as the leader of a country, you would have to hold him responsible, yes.
What'd you say to him?
Now, this is the funny thing. See, they're trying to set him up to hoping that Trump will say something here that will make him look weak. They're trying to get him to back off from what he said about Putin and believing him that he had no knowledge. This is just smoke and mirrors, fake news. Got to keep this narrative going. And what Trump should have done was just said, you know what? He's right. I don't care, because you keep lying. Like when fake news CNN was like, well, are you going to condemn him because all U.S. intelligence agencies said this? If I was Trump, I would have said, number one, I'm the president. Diplomacy would dictate that if you're going to confront someone, you don't do it in this environment, number one. Number two, it wasn't all the U.S. intelligence agencies. You've been pushing that false narrative for how long, CNN? Could it be why you're fake news? If he had done something like that and made it to light that they have no conclusive proof, that it's their feelings that Russia did something, without actually any scrap of evidence. If he brought all these things up, this would be absolutely a nothing situation. But he had to walk things back. And this is one of the things that I have to call him out for when it comes to the things he's doing as president. You do not give an inch. You do not apologize to these people. You apologize to them, and it's like, it's literally, to them, it's like the idea of sharks and putting blood into the water.
Very strong on the fact that we can't have meddling, we can't have any of that. Now, look, we're also living in a grown-up world. Will a strong statement, you know, President Obama supposedly made a strong statement. Nobody heard it. What they
Actually, the world heard it. They just laughed at him, took advantage of him, you know, openly disrespected him. There's a difference.
did hear is the statement he made to Putin's very close friend. And that statement was not acceptable. Didn't get very much play, relatively speaking, but that statement was not acceptable. But I let him know we can't have this. We're not going to have it. And that's the way it's going to be.
But he denies it. So if you believe U.S. intelligence agencies, is Putin lying to you?
I don't want to get into whether or not he's lying. I can only say that I do have confidence in our intelligence agencies as currently constituted.
I love that.
I think that Dan Coates is excellent.
Now, all right. Now, I love this. Well, if you're U.S. intelligence agencies, and I love it, he's like, well, and I love how he answered this here, because he's like, well, now I trust them, but I didn't exactly trust them back then. They didn't exactly show a reason to trust them. But now, you know, I got my guys here. And the thing with Coates is if you look, there's a video of him. He basically pulls this, like, you can tell he has no respect for the president when he was told, oh, the president tweeted that Trump's coming to the United States for a summit or a meeting or whatever it was. The look on his face, he gives this smirk, he lets out a chuckle, and talks like a complete shitbag. I would get rid of Coates. But the thing is I don't think he knew about this at that time, because I'm sure once Trump sees that, he's going to be like, you motherfucker. You want to play that way? I'm the president of the United States. You don't like it? Get the fuck out. And I'm sure, you know, at some point we're either going to see Trump do, you're fired, or it's going to be this situation of the guy walks away.
Is excellent. I think we have excellent people in the agencies, and when they tell me something, it means a lot.
Yeah, now, and I love how some news outlets, I'm sure, are going to take this whole thing out of context and what he said and say, look, he trusts the intelligence agencies, but they're not going to look at the fact of now as opposed to when this whole Russian bullshit thing came about. Russian President Vladimir Putin has rounded on U.S. critics of his summit with President Donald Trump. Rounded. That doesn't exactly make sense, but okay. Certain forces in the U.S. wanted to sacrifice U.S.-Russian ties for their narrow party interests, he told a meeting of Russian diplomats in Moscow. And he's right. That's exactly what this is over. This is about personal, like party interests and personal interests. Because if you look, the Ukraine was shady as all hell. You literally had Obama backing, and I kid you not on this, the direct descendancy of Nazis who controlled the Ukraine, that were in bed with Hitler, that are actual white supremacists, because basically Biden's kid wanted access to their natural gas. Because if you look, you got all these people bidding for the contract that they literally, when they installed that Nazi government, they kind of screwed Russia out of a contract for that natural gas. And then Biden's kid ends up with it. Talk about a little bit suspicious. So, of course, there's these interests going on the left. They don't want their corruption, especially with the fact of how they've been doing stuff to undermine Russia, to come out. Because, oh, Russia's doing it to us, but the Dems and the left have been doing all this shit to undermine Russia on the world stage, like commit coups in order to install governments that are going to be favorable to their interests, as opposed to making legitimate business deals that Russia happens to win the contracts on. Or Russians, I should say more accurately, because it wasn't like it was a state thing. They are feeding millions of their people stories, he said, which is true. Fake news. That's literally what you're doing here, BBC. You are feeding the people lies with bullshit sprinkled on top. Mr. Trump contradicted U.S. intelligence agencies on Monday when he backed away from blaming Russia for meddling in the 2016 election, provoking condemnation. And the condemnation that he got was from deep state shills, never Trumpers, whether they were on the left or the right, you know, your standard run-of-the-mill Trump deranged shitbags. He not to mention the ton of blue check-marked elitist morons on Twitter. He later said he had misspoken at the summit. Yeah, because he had to walk things back because you people were all spurging out, and that's the last thing he should have done. You never apologize to people like you, because once you get that apology, you think it's open season, carte blanche to get whatever you want by pushing a fucking issue. Because you all think you're entitled, you all think you're special, and if you got to spurg out like morons to stop people from standing up to you and saying no, like your parents should have, you're going to do that. In his comments, Mr. Putin said the meeting had been successful and has led to useful agreements. Yeah, and you're trying to make that sound nefarious, of course. Because, heaven forbid, you actually have two nations agree to something. Oh, God, this is just shitty freaking reporting here, BBC. This is not even reporting. This is activism. Of course, it remains to be seen how the situation will develop, especially given that certain forces in America are trying to belittle and undermine the results of the meeting, he added, which is so very true. CNN, on the front line. If I was Putin, being in Russia, you know, oh God, FSB, I would have taken, and I hate to say it, but I probably would have had that CNN shitbag disappeared. If I was Putin and supposedly as bad as they claim, the guy would have never made it back to the United States. Just saying. I mean, if they want to try to portray him that way, with what that guy did, because supposedly Putin is this dictator who can't stand having someone criticize, you know, him or his government or speak out against it. And he supposedly has jailed all this press. To me, it would make sense, you know, hey, have the FSB pick him up if that's supposedly how he is. But yet, that didn't happen. During an interview with CBS News on Monday, Mr. Trump said he held Mr. Putin personally responsible for interfering in the election and that he was very strong on the fact that we can't have meddling. Now, I love this because the BBC just goes to show that their lack of disrespect for these two leaders, because they have official titles. You stupid cucked fucks at the BBC. I know you don't like them. I don't like either of them, for that matter. But it is President Trump, the leader of the free fucking world, meaning that he has more clout and more power than May has, you know, which I'm sure you're not May fans over at the BBC. Okay, you're probably Corbyn fans. He's got way more power and clout than that commie fuckwit. All right? And he's actually in a position of actual power. He's the leader of the free world. You will refer to him as president. And on the note of, quote-unquote, Mr. Putin, you will refer to him as President Putin. Because he is the duly elected. He's not a dictator. He's duly elected. The people vote for him. But he's a duly elected leader of the Russian government. Put your politics aside. This is about reporting news accurately, not putting your feelings in on this, because this is a sign of disrespect to the office of the president, whether it's the president of the United States or the president of Russia. Fuck the men who are in those positions at this time. Show respect to the position itself. And this thing of, you know, he said he was very strong on the fact that we can't have meddling, because we can't. See, you take the fact that he talks about, well, I hold Putin responsible if it was actual Russians, you know, and That's because we can't have the fact of actual meddling. We just can't have it. So you're trying to put those two together and actually make it seem like, oh, look at him. He's changed his mind. And it just goes to show Russia's bad. But he's, the thing is here you are you guys are still trying to portray this like CNN, MSNBC, mainstream outlets like, like lamestream, over the air like ABC and shit are trying to push this idea that he's in bed with Russia. Yet you can't say, look, he's changed his tactic. Well, look at that, means Russia must have done it, because he's either in bed with Russia and he's talking out his ass there, or he's not in bed with Russia and he's trying to please you fuckwits, by saying what you want to hear. On Thursday, Mr. Trump accused opponents of preferring to go to war rather than seeing good relations with Russia. In a series of tweets, he said he was keen to meet with Mr. Putin again. And he's right. These people are calling for escalations of tension with Russia over a fake fucking piss dossier and Facebook ads that most were shown to people after the election. They are literally trying to create, we already have a Cold War, but they're trying to create a situation that's going to make it hot. And it's disgusting and it's vile. If they actually did something to the United States, I'd be saying, yeah, we got to show them that they can't. But there's actually no proof at this point that we have had actual Kremlin involvement. U.S. Special Counsel Robert Mueller is currently investigating allegations of Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and whether there was collusion among the Trump campaign team, something denied by both. Because there is nothing, and I love how you got to throw this in, because we got to, look, Mueller's investigating this. You're trying to imply because of this meeting, you are disgusting, BBC. You are trying to imply a couple things here. And one of the things you're trying to imply is that Mueller, with his investigation, because there is an investigation, there must be something there. So therefore, through deductive reasoning, well, at least dumbed down left-style deductive reasoning, therefore there must be guilt and he's colluding with the Russians. But you're also putting it in there for this other factor, where you're trying to also say, look, well, there's got to be this whole thing of, collusion besides the point, or interference, because there is the investigation. I mean, you're using it for two different aspects of this narrative. And it's sad and disgusting that the BBC, on taxpayer dollars, is putting out deep state globalist propaganda like this. God, if I was a Brit, I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't be watching TV with a TV license. The summit with Russia was a great success, except with the real enemy of the people, the fake news media. I look forward to our second meeting so that we can start implementing some of the many things discussed, including stopping terrorism, security for Israel, nuclear proliferation, cyber attacks, trade, Ukraine, Middle East peace, North Korea, and more. There are so many answers, some easy and some hard, to these problems, but they can all be solved. And here's the thing, he's right about this. See, what they're trying to play down, and this just goes to show the idea of globalism and deep state and the military-industrial complex. The only two nations that could actually accomplish any of those things are the United States and Russia. Europe couldn't do fucking shit on that note. They could want to offer to help, but they wouldn't be actually accomplishing it. No offense to Europeans. It's just geopolitics. Because, like, a good example would say the whole terrorism thing and security for Israel because they're interlinked, nuclear proliferation. These are all things that we're talking about two major players. Cyber attacks, I mean, you've got China in there and that, so it's not necessarily the case. Trade between the United States and Russia would be a good thing. But getting back to the other thing real quick, the stopping terrorism, security of Israel, all that. The only two countries that are actually and factually fighting terrorism, ISIS, offshoots of them, other terrorist organizations, are Russia and the United States. You don't see any of our supposed allies involved in this shit. But yeah, but like I said, like with the cyber attacks, you've got multiple nations there. Trade, like I said, getting back here, trade, definitely a good thing between the United States and Russia. We've got these agreements that stop, like we've got embargoes going on right now with them. And the thing that we've got going on here with that is hypocritical when European nations like Germany are still dealing with them, and supposedly Russia is so evil. Middle East peace, again, sorry, I skipped over Ukraine. Ukraine, we kind of created that shit show. I mean, Ukraine was a stable government, stable nation, was leaning towards alignment, or at least being allied with Russia. They had, for both sides, lucrative, deals on like natural gas. They were good for both sides. And the United States, the Obama administration in particular, the deep state, they didn't like that going on. And I find it, like I've mentioned earlier, a little bit funny how Biden's kid ends up with the natural gas that Russia had a legal contract with the Ukrainian government to extract. Go figure. Now, they added this section here. It's another, basically a small article to pad out this article, and then they added another one and another one. And we're going to go through them here because it's not that much longer. But they kind of knit these things together as well with this. So this little article within an article, A Perfect Fit for the Kremlin, by Vitaly Shevchenko, BBC Monitoring. Donald Trump's apparent U-turn may have come as a shock to some, but not to Russia. If it's perfectly with the Kremlin's media narrative. I mean, Vitaly, clearly with that name, Vitaly Shevchenko, whatever your name is. English is your second language, but there should be a with there. So it fits perfectly with the Kremlin's media narrative. The U.S. president genuinely wants to mend ties with Russia, but is facing fierce opposition from political mainstream. No, he's facing fierce political opposition from the neoconservatives, the GOP types that are, basically no different than your corporatist, neoliberal Democrats. And then on top of that, you have the deranged left that's been indoctrinated into buying this shit about Russia because their bitch lost an election, that are putting up opposition. But if you look at Trump's base, if you look at people who are not from any of those camps that I've mentioned, they want better relations with Russia, because the better the relations are with Russia, the odds are the more stable geopolitically the globe becomes. That's the bottom line. And they don't want stability. Because if you have stability, people love their nation, get back to the point of dealing with their own shit internally in their own nations. People start to regain their nationalism, their love for their nation. They start looking at dealing with their own problems that they have that should be looked at before looking globally. Plus a lot more. And it goes counter to this idea of globalism and this idea of 1984 style large government type shit that they want. The deep state has literally leapt into action after the Helsinki summit, says official TV channel Royalsa 1. Russia, however it's said. So, because they said that the deep state has leapt into action, you got to throw that in there. Well, the deep state is something that's being commonly talked about here. You're trying to make it sound like tinfoil hat wearing bullshit with that, it seems to me. According to state-run Channel 1, Trump has become the target of persecution with a vengeance in the U.S. and therefore had to reverse his remarks on alleged Russian meddling. Yeah, ding, ding, ding. But because it's Russian state-run media, we're going to put that in there, that Russian state-run media part, so that it looks like it's pure propaganda. And the irony of this is BBC is literally state-funded and run fucking media. Do you see the irony of the pot calling the kettle black here, you stupid fucks? Seriously, Vitaly Shevchenko, whatever the hell your name is. Did you literally think about this before writing that sentence? That you literally work for a state-run media organization? So, you literally are trying to imply that Channel 1 should not be trusted. Well then, why the fuck should anyone trust the BBC here? Aha! Good point, don't you think? I mean, this is so fucked up. Gazprom's NTV uses an old Russian saying about a man trying to catch a bird that has flown. The implication is clear. You said Russia never meddled, and it's too late to change that now. Yeah, and he's right. But you stupid fucks think, he backed it off, so we're right. No, he's appeasing you. If you honestly think that he's now agreeing with you when he's telling you what you want to hear, you really are stupid fucks who are delusional. And St. Petersburg-based Channel 5 wonders, is Trump under hypnosis? Oh my God. See, all right, as I've brought this up before, when they literally take something out of context, which this little one sentence is taken out of context, it makes it sound like it's completely different than the intended. I mean, to me, I would put money that under the full context of what was said, it was meant more tongue-in-cheek and sarcastically, but they're trying to portray it as if the Russians are actually saying this seriously. Now, this part right here I loved because it just goes to show the hypocrisy going on here. Because we actually tried to do the same thing, and I think we somehow... Did we talk to him? I think he actually did talk, if memory serves, with this whole Russia investigation. But anyway, ambassador controversy. The White House is facing further criticism for not ruling out a Russian proposal to question U.S. citizens accused by the Kremlin of illegal activities. Well, wait a minute. I love how they leave out the part that this was a mutual agreement type situation where if you let us talk to these people, which this was Putin, he was like, look, I'll let you guys talk to the 12 supposed, Russian cyber intelligence, military cyber intelligence, indicted supposed criminals. We'll let you be able to talk to them. But we want our back scratched in return. We know there's been some shady shit here. Can we talk to this person? Or these people? I think that, hey, if you want them to let us talk to those 12 people. It's only kind of fair. And the thing is what's fucked up is they're trying to talk about this with an ambassador. The ambassador has diplomatic immunity, so his talking to them wouldn't mean shit anyways. They couldn't touch him. And the other thing is I'm sure, because the way the U.S. has operated throughout history, especially the Cold War and how they still see Russia, odds are they were actually doing illegal activities on top of this. One of those being sought by Russia is former U.S. Ambassador to Moscow, Michael McFaul. By allowing him to be questioned would breach the legal immunity normally granted to a country's foreign service. That is complete bullshit. This is like CNN trying to say that the average American couldn't look at WikiLeaks. It really is. Because it is actually not a breach of the legal immunity granted to diplomats, allowing them to be questioned. If you question them, here's the thing. Bear with me one second. I'm trying to think of the best way to... Okay, you have a diplomat. They can be brought in for questioning. That does not violate their diplomatic immunity, especially if it's a capital crime, which I'm sure the illegal activities that the Russians are looking at would be considered, capital crimes. And if they are brought in for questioning, they can enact their diplomatic immunity at that point. If they're being questioned for something, it's kind of like pleading the fifth. Okay, you're not self-incriminating, you're not compelled to self-incriminate yourself. And by pleading the fifth, you're keeping your mouth shut, but on the same note, you're kind of saying, yeah, I'm fucking guilty. Same type of situation. Same exact type of situation. And I think the left and the deep state, your globalist-loving, military-industrial complex, that type of crowd. They really don't want this diplomat to be put there in front of a Russian and asked a question, because odds are he would say, well, I'm invoking my diplomatic immunity from at that time. And then it would pretty much say, yeah, I'm guilty as fuck, and then it would draw more attention to something that I'm sure they don't want attention drawn to. Politicians... Alright. I love how they say, I'm sorry, I just have to say this, but allowing him to be questioned would breach the legal immunity. I look at that. I'm going to read on. I look at that. And on the inside, I'm just chuckling it. Because it's literally like watching when the WikiLeaks dump happened. And that was it Cuomo? Who was the fucking idiot at CNN going, well, you can't read these, but we can because we're the press. It's just a fucking bad flashback to that. Well, a good one on the note of the laughs, but bad on the note of the shit that's been going down. Politicians from both sides of the U.S. political divide have rubbished the idea. One Democrat congressman called the suggestion crazy. Yeah, well, that should make you wonder. If these people are so adamant, and they're lying about the fact of this whole idea of diplomatic immunity, you have to question why they do not want the Russians to talk to them. FBI Director Christopher Wray also dismissed it, saying, it's certainly not high on our list of investigative techniques. Questioning a witness is not high on your list of investigative techniques? Are you fucking kidding me? Seriously. The Russians are literally trying to question either a person of interest or a suspect. And you're trying to say that's not on your list of investigative techniques? Oh, so that's why fucking Stroke, whatever the fuck his name is, Stroke. Right now, I don't give a shit. So that's why he never interviewed anyone in his supposed Russian investigation. Aha! Wow, it all now makes sense. When Trump says Russia is no longer targeting America, that's not how this American feels. Putin is most certainly targeting and intimidating me, and I'm an American. Oh my God. Holy shit. Yeah, he's personally fucking targeting you, Michael. This is some real delusional fucking shit here. Now, this just goes to show how desperate, this next section here, how desperate the Democrats are. Democrats demand interpreter. Democrats want a subpoena issued for the notes of a State Department translator who accompanied Mr. Trump to his 2-hour meeting with Mr. Putin. The two leaders met privately at the summit with only their interpreters present. But there is little Democrats can do in the Republican-controlled Congress. On Thursday, California Representative Adam Schiff said his proposal to legally demand the translator's notes was rejected. Yeah, because it's fucking delusional. Why the fuck? He is the president. You have no right to physically get involved in this way in his business as the president. It oversteps the bounds of Congress to do this because he is given the ability to operate on these type of situations, or in regards to him, I should say, with leeway and be able to have private discussions and work out deals. That's the point of being a president. You don't like that, though, and you're hoping that you can find some shit in there that you can try to use as political capital. That's all it is. And Adam Schiff, okay, you should change your name to get rid of the two like two F's and put like two T's. Adam Shit, because you're full of it. And I love how the fucking idiot gets together with Swalwell with this. Breaking. Rep Swalwell and I just made a motion in House Intel Committee to subpoena the American interpreter during the summit. The only witness to Trump's meeting with Putin. This is an extraordinary remedy, but Trump's actions necessitate it. Wait a minute. You will you will literally suck Zuckerberg's dick and not subpoena him and get him to come in and not be put under oath so that he can lie through his fucking teeth. And you want to take a woman doing her fucking job in the process of aiding the president and doing his, and you want to drag her in front of Congress so that you can fucking dig and hopefully find the tiniest little fucking thing that you can try to use against the president. Jesus Christ, Schiff. You're a poster child, along with Pelosi and Mad Maxine and Schumer and all these other fucking people. You're a poster child for the walk away movement. And no, it's not Russian bots. It's your fucking actions. It's what you say and then what you do in turn. That's what it is. This is a good example of it. Meanwhile, a non-binding Senate resolution introduced by Jeff Flake, a Republican, and Chris Coons, a Democrat, was blocked too. Oh yeah, God. You make it sound like Jeff Flake, who's retiring because he's a triggered little snowflake from Snowflake, Arizona. Deep state shill. A shitbag. A protege. Oh, sorry, I was looking for the right word. A protege of McCain, a neocon scumbag, and a Democrat. Ooh, yeah, that's got a lot of weight behind it. That's why it was blocked. House Democrats are touting a bill to hold Russia accountable, strengthen our election security, and bolster our alliances, but it is likely to face strong headwinds. Well, if you're trying to strengthen our election security, here's a suggestion. This way it would stop meddling from all outsiders, because our voting machines aren't even connected via a network, so there's no way that they'd have to physically go to the machine to hack it. Voter ID registration. If everyone had to show ID to vote, excuse me. If they had to do that, don't you think that would take care of a lot of voter issues? Just a thought. Oh my God. You people are fucking disgusting. What has President Trump said? Much of the outrage stemmed from one comment Mr. Trump made when he appeared alongside Mr. Putin on Monday. During a news conference, Mr. Trump was asked whether he believed U.S. intelligence agencies' conclusions on Mr. Putin about whether Russia had meddled. According to a White House transcript, he said, "I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be." Well, yeah. Because so far there's absolutely no actual physical fucking proof. But in this day and age, in our society, if with this in front of people, for them all to see, you keep pushing a lie and people eventually start believing it, it goes to show how dumbed down and fucked up the society has become. And that's what's happening here. Amid outcry the following day, he said he had misspoken. Despite the controversy, Republican voters seem to be sticking by Mr. Trump, with a Reuters El Paso poll this week finding that his Finland summit had no real impact on his overall approval ratings. Actually, he gained a little. You want to know why? I mean, he's going to lose a little bit, I'm sure, walking it back. But as Sticks was saying, I believe in this latest talk about the polls, Trump went up a little bit. And the reason being is because he's calling out shit. Because you have these sensible and reasonable people. And they look at the situation. And they go, okay, no actual proof. You've got the left pushing this idea with, the deep state Democrat side. And you've got the left buying into it and helping to propagate it. You got this going on here. With that happening, his voters aren't sticking by. That should give you a cause for warning when that's going on with this whole Russia thing, number one. And then you go into the fact that with his voters sticking by, and they're trying to make it sound like, I didn't want to go here with this, but I am. It's almost like they're trying to portray Republicans, because first off, a lot of people who weren't Republican voted and are voted for President Trump, you disrespectful fuckwits. Not Mr. President. Oh, God. But, they're trying to portray like the Republicans do that, and that they're trying to imply, oh, well, they're stupid. And they're trying to imply that only people who voted for him are Republicans. It's so fucked up. It's like they're seriously trying to portray this as like, oh, look at these dumb Republicans. Oh, they don't see him for, well, that's what they're portraying a dumb Republican to sound like. But, well, we don't see them. We don't see Trump for what he really is. I mean, that's how they fucking see him. And what gets me is Trump voters are probably more informed, and I know this is probably going to upset a bunch of people, than a lot of people out there, because they've rejected things like identity politics. They've rejected things like globalism. They've rejected the things that Trump stands against. So it kind of makes sense that they would vote for someone like him, being informed. Anyway, God, this is another long video, 45 minutes here plus. So I've covered this well enough, and I'm going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.